Happy Wednesday, everyone. I apologize if I sound like the Grim Reaper in today's episode, but I got terrible sleep last night. Gonna sleep really well tonight, though. If you're new here, welcome. We cover a wide range of stocks on this channel, primarily fintechs, semis, software, SaaS related companies, rather to be precise, a little different terminology here. If you enjoyed today's video, let alone any of my videos I put out on this YouTube channel, definitely smash the like button, entirely free, and think about subscribing for more content. And to see my face, I promise tomorrow's episode is going to be a lot more cheerful, but today is going to be probably a very cheerful day for the semi market out there. And right now, it is about to be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so the market's been open for almost 30 minutes here. I have AMD up here on the 1 minute time frame. We're seeing a nice small breakout of AMD, a good solid 4-5%. But on NVIDIA, we're kind of really somewhat seeing the opposite, right? Pretty funny because NVIDIA is reporting earnings today. You would think really NVIDIA is going to be pumping a little bit before earnings, but especially before their earnings, rather than kind of really just kind of really not showing a whole lot of momentum, right? Even though it's by all means, stocks, they pump before earnings, they dump before earnings. If a stock goes up before its earnings or go down before its earnings, it doesn't mean that they're not going to do great on their earnings by all. It's just really much like the atmosphere. But there's a lot of really good atmosphere around AMD, primarily because AMD, they just reported their earnings and they had a massive breakout. I am long AMD on two profiles. My public profile for this YouTube channel, dedicated for this channel entirely. If you want to see my profile, look at yesterday's video. I went through my entire profile. Gonna keep this video nice and short and simple, so not gonna dive into my profile today. Probably gonna do a profile update tomorrow, though. But on my public and also my private profile, I'm long AMD. Public profile, my average is $210.18. I have very much a better average on my private account because I've been buying AMD since Liberation Day last year when it was below $100. Now people are willing to buy AMD at these levels, and the crazy thing about AMD is that even at these levels, if you run projections and if you really understand what's happening for this company, you're seeing a different play than NVIDIA. I'm not bashing on NVIDIA. I've been in and out of NVIDIA the last couple years. I'm not long NVIDIA right now because I see tremendous growth in AMD. But the growth rate for NVIDIA over the next couple years, it's going to slow down. And the growth rate for AMD is going to be accelerating. And so many people are catching on. Wall Street is catching on. And that's why there's a lot of hype in AMD right now, because we're in a discovery phase. Kind of like how NVIDIA was in a discovery phase back in 2023. Discovery phase because AMD, let alone the chips, semi companies, they have two different components. They have the GPU and the CPU, okay? Their chips, they have different purposes. However, AMD is seeing an acceleration in both better than expected. And that's something Lisa Su, where their CEO doesn't sandbag. She is a straight shooter, kind of like Anthony Noto. I'm a very big SoFi bull as well, too. The last couple of videos of mine have been pretty much about SoFi, and I did buy some more SoFi shares yesterday, so definitely check out that video as to why I bought SoFi. But as for AMD, my positions are built, and I'm just here riding pretty much the wave. As for how high that wave is going to go until I start Oh boy, excuse me, start taking profits. I actually had some heartburn last night, or I should say I woke up to friggin' heartburn. How crazy is that? Yeah. It was not a good night for me last night at all. If you are an active viewer of mine, you probably are like, what the hell? This guy's very energetic, and now I'm like the Grim Reaper, right? No, seriously, waking up to heartburn is not very fun. But anyways, AMD, this company is pricing in a tremendous amount of stuff for the future, and that's how the stock market works, and that's how stocks work, is they price stuff in. Now, as for NVIDIA, I've been talking about NVIDIA on this YouTube channel for the last, I want to say, 4 or 5 months, as I've been building a AMD position publicly. And my entire philosophy is that NVIDIA is going to continue to beat and just continue to raise guidance. But everyone that's been in NVIDIA for a very long time, they're understanding that this company is grown to its real limits. And it's not that NVIDIA is not a great company and not going to continue to grow, but we're seeing companies like AMD, they're going to grow faster. So if you are a growth investor like me, and if you are bullish on growth stocks, well, keep the numbers simple. Let's say you have one company. Let's call it NVIDIA. Let's say NVIDIA is growing at 20% like a CAGR, even though that's not the actual number, but I'm just keeping it simple, right? Compound annual growth rate is CAGR. And then you have a company like AMD growing at 30. Well, if you're a growth investor, you have one company growing at 20%, and then you have another company growing at 30%. It's common sense that your money is going to do better in the 30% growth rate company. But here's the catch. The CEO has used verbiage that was not expecting to hit the market, such as, we're seeing a higher demand than we thought. We're seeing both of our chip sectors pretty much exploding. And that is what caused the massive breakout in AMD over the last week or so since their earnings. Massive breakout here, and the reason being is because of the verbiage. The verbiage that Lisa Su, and of course we ran up to earnings because we knew earnings was going to be a blowout, but I was watching this stock religiously. It was my cardio day, and I was actually out running, and I had my friggin' TradingView app up on my phone, and I'm seeing the stock nearly down 5% on earnings. And once guidance came out, this stock was up by 15%. And then once Lisa Su was talking, it just kept going up and up and up because of what she was saying and pretty much giving us guidance that, hey, we're seeing a greater demand for all of our chips. That is very big. So understand that the growth rate that Lisa Su has stated, which I believe she said 30%, realistically, it's probably going to be much greater. And she is a sandbagger, but let alone every CEO is pretty much a sandbagger. Keep it simple. They say they're going to do 30%, but then they come out and they do 35, or maybe they do 40, or maybe they do better. Okay, that's what sandbagging is. It's not illegal. It is what Wall Street expects. If you have been in Palantir for a very long time, Alex Karp learned this the hard way. 2022, Alex Karp would come out and say, yeah, we're going to be doing this. And then he came out and said, hey, we did this. And the market would, and Wall Street would sell off the stock because Wall Street wants something greater. It took Alex a little bit to actually, learn this because he was like a fairly, Palantir recently IPO'd not several years ago, 5-6 years ago now. So they're still a newly, publicly traded company, and it takes a little bit. Lisa Su's been in the game for a while now, but we're seeing AMD very much pump. Now, what is my own personal prediction? And I'm not placing any calls. I'm not gambling. Like I said, I am long AMD. But if I'm wrong about this, I don't really care because I'm long AMD. If I'm right about this, woohoo, I'm long AMD. I really feel that NVIDIA is going to smash earnings and they're going to triple beat. Why do I feel this? Because Jensen was with President Trump in China, and let's face reality, okay? Insider trading happens in the Republican Party and Democratic Party, okay? And when you have CEOs with the president, regardless their political affiliation, those companies tend to do very well. Intel, right? What happened with Intel? Well, Intel, didn't the government take a 10% stake in Intel? I'm almost certain the government did. My internet is lagging for some reason. Yep, my internet just went out. You can eat dog poop and get kicked in the balls. 2026. Okay. Anyways, Intel. Government took a stake in Intel. Good thing I'm not live streaming right now, right? Government took a stake in Intel, very much higher, right? Obviously, the top chip company in the world is with the president. They're going to do extremely well, okay? So what is that going to do for AMD? It's going to do a lot. Because obviously, if the top company in the chip sector is going up, AMD is going to follow. My prediction is if NVIDIA smashes earnings, we can see AMD back to 450. And honestly, AMD may friggin' reach 450 even before earnings. We could see AMD on the way to 500. That's a very bold statement that I'm making because 500 is obviously, you're talking 15%. But hey, you want to know what? This stock is on a tear. And it's on a tear because stuff is being priced in for the future. So take that with a grain of salt. If you are long AMD like me, let me know down below if you're an AMD bro or AMD sister. Always love to hear from other shareholders. But realistically, NVIDIA should come in and very much smash earnings. And AMD very much should follow in suit. If not, with greater momentum. So I'm going to leave this on the closing note. Tomorrow we'll pretty much see what happens. As for economical news or data, the only thing that we're getting today, and honestly I can't even friggin' click on it, my internet's out. The only thing that we're getting today is a Fed's minutes from their May's FOMC meeting. We're kind of really getting the atmosphere of how they really feel around the current inflation and stuff. So we really got to see what happens with that. Otherwise, I'm going to go and kick my modem's ass right now, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Later.